we're at 5,500, which is where we're supposed to be, heading towards Marathon. We were flying with radar contact, and the engine quit. Now, prior to that, I got to tell you that we had replaced the fuel pump on it, and we had put 7.5 hours on it. So we had solved that problem, and we don't, to this day, still don't know exactly what happened. Some mechanics now are saying it could have been the fuel selector switch. But to make the long story a little bit shorter, at 5,500 feet, we figured we had about 3 minutes. I had a girl next to me that was actually a certified flight instructor, and she normally brings the plane back when we fly to Marathon. I fly down, she flies it back. And she started working on the engine. She says, "You continue to fly, and I'll work on the motor." Well, we tried the fuel switch. We tried the pumps. We tried the auxiliary pump. We even tried pointing it down a little more so we'd have more thrust on the prop. And in about 3.5 minutes, it goes by pretty darn fast. I decided to head towards the beach. I could see the beach. I was only probably about 2 or 3 miles away from it. But here's the remarkable part. After she started working on, then she started talking to it. And of course, whatever she could say, praying and discussing with the engine. Are you going to go? Are you going to go? Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Everything that she could imagine, but it didn't get it going. But the remarkable thing was, in all this talk that she had that fast, I'm moving towards the beach. I remembered at school, they told us PTS, pitch, trim, and look. And that's basically what I did. I trimmed it for the best that I could make. And like I said, still shooting towards the beach. But the remarkable thing was, as we were getting down pretty low, she says to me, "Look how low we are." And to be honest with you, I'm still got my eyes on that beach. I'm going to make it to the beach. But I wasn't going to make it to the beach. When she said that, I just pulled back with everything I had. I looked out like she looked out, and we were right there, right on the water. And with fixed gear Saratoga, if that nose goes in, it's going to flip. Ain't nobody going to get out of the plane then. And by pulling back, I still had enough speed. Flight aware had me at 83 miles an hour at 300 feet, so I was still moving along pretty good. And the plane responded, and I brought that nose up, and we danced on the tail and came down. Now, when we settled down, I had, when I pulled back, I guess, more my right arm, and I had it into like a right-hand turn. Of course, if I was on the ground, the wheel would have been 20 towards the right. So that kicked the plane and ditched the left wing first, and it came to a sudden halt. And that took us all up. But at that point, nobody was still injured. At least I didn't know if they were injured. And she got out on the wing, and I got up on the wing, and we were dry. But flying the plane to Marathon, knowing that we're going over water, I require to wear a life jacket. So we already had our life jackets on. We had them on when we left Fort Myers. And with that left wing under, that put the entrance to the cabin underwater. So I jumped in off the wing and swam around. Luckily, I was smart enough not to engage my life jacket, and I was able to get around there pretty fast. And the girls were in the back; they were panicking. We had propped the door open as part of the instructions that I was taught on the way down. So I had the door propped open with another life jacket, and so when we landed, the door, of course, did not jam. I was able to get to the two girls. I yanked under ignition for the life jacket, and it blew up. And at that time, you could see that they calmed down quite fast. They went from up to their neck to at least their heads way above where they weren't panicking at that point. And we got out, and the first thing I said was that my wife was actually the one that was very quite upset. Of course, she's the one that had to prop the door open, and she's the one that had to open the door. So she knew something, of course, was going on. It wasn't good. So luckily we got out.